Well, Betsy Duncan from the Summit Salon Academy, welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time today. In Tampa, Florida. How are things in Florida these days?
We still have warm weather.
Yeah,
We haven't gotten any fall weather yet. It's still pretty warm
yeah,
down here.
yeah. That's great. Well, I'm sure it's a pretty hospitable climate most of the time, but I noticed you were from Fort Myers originally and had to,
Hmm.
when I saw that, thought about the hurricane and all the destruction there. So hope
Yeah.
any kind of relatives or friends you had there were all safe through that.
Luckily, they all made it through. They didn't have they had some property damage, just a little bit, but the biggest thing is they were just out of power for a fair amount of time. So that was the biggest nuisance. But I do have some friends that I went to college with that lived on Sanibel Island and had a business on Sanibel Island, and it was unfortunately, they basically lost everything. So it was a really hard hit for them. And it's now a year later, a little over a year
Yeah,
now. And it's definitely my hometown they're still struggling, but it's definitely a lot of repairs and things are coming back to normal. But it's takes time, and that's for those that are Floridians or who have lived in Florida a long time. It's just a way of life that you just keep going, you clean up and you keep going.
yeah,
So it's one of the just part of what it is to live in Florida in paradise, where you don't have to shovel snow or deal
yeah,
with ice or anything like that. So that's but
yeah,
it's one of those that you just be you keep an eye on the weatherman, and then you just prepare as best you can, and
yeah,
if they tell you to leave, leave.
yeah,
And luckily, majority of my family and friends were farther inland, so they weren't too impacted as those that were closer, you know, to the water.
yeah. Well, oh, feel for you. Yep. And every area has its pros and cons. There's not a region
Yeah,
without some pros and cons. So yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about you and your career and all the things that Summit Salon Academy offers. Why don't we just start a little bit? Can you just talk a little bit about your career in massage and where you went to school and where you were trained and the variety of things you've done along the way?
Yeah. So back in 2004, I went to school at a place called Heritage Institute. And it was a program for it was a little over 900 hours in massage therapy.
Wow.
So the Florida requires a minimum of 500. So it was a more advanced program since it was, 900. And it was a really great program. I learned a lot. And as soon as I got licensed, I started working. I worked with chiropractors. I worked with a DO for several years and learned a lot from them. And then transitioned into working in high-end spas and worked with athletes and celebrities and different things like that that came into the spas where I was working. And have been doing massage ever since. Uh, about 10 years ago, I went back to school to be an esthetician and a nail tech. I wanted to be that triple threat in the spa and be able to do it all. And So that's a little bit. A lot of my experiences in high-end spas with Hyatt hotels. And then I also, back in 2010, I started teaching. And that's when teaching massage. And that's when I really got into the anatomy. I knew the anatomy when I went to school, but you know, 5 years later, could I tell you the name of that particular muscle? Probably not as much,
Sure,
but
sure.
once I went to teach it, I was like, oh, I really got to know my stuff. And at the time, the school that I was teaching at was Cortiva Institute, and they used the anatomy and clay system. And that's when I first, back in 2010, fell in love with the skeletons and the system, and how awesome they were, and how the hands-on aspect of it, and how that really helps the student and the learner really connect where the muscles are. And then in turn, it then helped their hands-on skills as massage therapist even more, because they were really able to grasp and understand where the muscle starts, where it ends, and then really understand, okay, it goes over this joint. So this, you know, then they were able to understand the kinesiology of it, of like what the muscle does, because of what joint it goes over and what movement it does. So that's where I first fell in love with it. And in back in 2020, I was basically recruited. A longtime friend of mine, who we've worked with on and off since 2010, said, "You need to come teach with me at Summit Salon Academy." And I was like, well, okay. It was at the time, it was the right choice for me and my family. I've got two young girls, and I don't get me wrong, I love working in the spa, but I needed a different schedule with my family. And the Summit Salon, you know, was able to offer me that. And so I came in and I was help teaching with the skin and the nails, and they said, you know, we really want to start a massage program. The school had been there for um 18 years, and they started off with cosmetology. Then they started a nail program and a skin program, and they have a barber program. But they really wanted to offer massage therapy as well. And so since they knew that I taught massage, and that I'd been a massage therapist for a long time, they said, do you want to build our massage program and help us start a massage program here at Summit Salon Academy? And I was like, of course. So the idea of being able to design and develop a massage program from scratch was just a dream come true for me, because I was really able to pick the textbooks that I wanted and pick the exact curriculum. And the owner was amazing to let me have carte blanche and what I wanted in the classroom. And the first thing that I thought of was the anatomy and clay system,
Huh.
of that I wanted that for, you know, my students, so that they could have that connection while we were learning about anatomy. And um, a lot of the type of person that goes into massage therapist, they're very much tactile learners. They're very much that they need to touch it, do it, feel it for it to connect. And in addition to, you know, your visual and your audio learners and all of that as well. So my students, we use the anatomy and clay as, after we've learned about the muscles, we have like a muscle of the day, as we're learning about the anatomy. And after we learn about a certain group of muscles, we then get out the skeletons, and we say, okay, now let's make the muscles that we've learned about. And, you know, then starting, you know, with the muscles that are um, the most, you know, starting inferior, or, you know, and then working our way out. And So they really love that. And I love seeing the light bulb moments in the students' faces when they see, oh, that's how it works, or that's where because as we're learning about the muscles, they're also practicing and massaging their classmates at the same time. So they feel the muscles on their classmates, but obviously there's skin and connective tissue in the way, so they're not really seeing the muscles, and they feel where they are, but they don't really see it. So for them to recreate where the muscle is on a skeleton, it really helps them understand the muscle so much deeper than I think if we were just using a textbook.
Mhm.
And just you and I use textbooks. I have a lot of videos that I love the crash course anatomy videos on YouTube. I love the Amoeba sisters on YouTube. So they've got a lot of great anatomy things that really help to make anatomy fun. I personally have like a skeleton onesie and a muscle onesie. So when we start learning about the muscles, I zip that up and I walk in there, dressed as a skeleton or dressed as a muscle man. So it helps to make it fun. We have a skeleton in our classroom called Slim Jim, and every month he gets a new costume. He currently is a pretty pink princess right now for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Um, and so we do different things like that to help
Yeah.
make anatomy fun, because
Yeah.
you are learning, you're
Yeah.
actually learning Greek and Latin, so you're learning another language,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
very intimidating. And when you tell them how many anatomy hours am I spending in anatomy, and they're like, what? I thought I was just doing massage. It's like, well, you got to know what you're working on.
Yeah.
Um,
So how long are your courses? Or how are they structured?
so we have two massage programs. We have our massage program and then a spa therapy program. And our massage program is 750 hours. And that is where it's just massage. They are learning not only about the spa modalities, but we also get into more of the therapeutic and more of the medical modalities, your neuromuscular, your myofascial. We get into introducing them into cupping and doing kinesiotap and sports massage, where with those particular massage modalities, you really have to understand the muscles and how they work.
Yeah.
And then our second program is a spa therapy program where it's a 600 hours in massage and 300 hours in skin. So then when they're done, they'll be dual licensed as a massage therapist and an esthetician, which really makes them marketable in the spa atmosphere, that they can do both the aesthetics and the massage side of it. And
Right.
in the spa therapy program, they're learning not they get introduced and they learn like your deep tissue, your therapeutic, your neuromuscular, but there's not as much time spent on it as much as for just the massage program, which I consider as more of like an advanced massage program because of all of the massage modalities that we go
Yeah.
into with it.
Yeah.
So it's those are the two programs that we have for massage, and we use the anatomy and clay system with both. And we
And
also will use the clay with our other programs, the cosmetology program, our skin program, our advanced skin program, and our full specialist program. They do learn about the skin, the integumentary system. They learn a little bit the basics of like the muscles in the face and et cetera, that kind of thing of what they're touching and feeling. And we have different little dummy heads that will use the same clay, but make the muscles on top of the dummy head. And then, so that's great for them when they're learning the facial massage techniques for facials on which muscles are they massaging over. And, I want to do this figure eight to, go around orbicularis oculi and stimulate that muscle. And, so that's great for them to get that visual. And when we learn about the cells and the different things like that, we use the clay to have them do a visual and make a cell, which I have a little small one here that
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah,
for
sure.
recently one of
Yeah,
our advanced skin students, they made a little cell uh,
yeah, that's
visual
great.
there. So I thought that was small enough that I
Yeah,
could show you. Um,
yeah,
so we use the skeletons a lot, but we also use the clay as well. So
sure,
it really
sure.
helps for that visual.
Yeah, that's great. So how large is your academy? How many students are going through these programs at any one time?
So our massage program is just approaching a year old. So we have two graduating classes, and we're currently on our third class. In our third class right now, we have 7 students.
Mhm.
And so I think the word is getting out that we have our program now. Summit Salon Academy has had a really great reputation for years to be the school to go to in our area. And now that we offer massage, they're like, oh, now more and more people are know to come
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Um, so that our biggest program is our cosmetology program, and we just had a class of 40 students start. And I believe on average, depending on graduations and everything like that, we usually have around 150 students on campus between all of our programs and
yeah.
various things like that, that we're usually around 150. And
Wow.
our goal is
Yeah,
to keep growing so that we're reaching that 200 mark.
yeah. Oh, you said that's awesome, by the way. Congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you said your students, I think you used the word love play, working with the anatomy and clay system. What is their reaction as they go? Do they really take to it? Do they find that there's a kind of just they recognize its ability as a learning tool to help them grasp
They
concepts?
do. And it's one of those, you see some of the students are like that loved playing with Play-Doh as a kid. They're like super
Hmm.
excited when when we bring that. They're like, yes, this is awesome. And you have ones that are maybe a little bit more artistic and they take to it a little quicker. Um, and it's one of those, I usually kind of have to have a little, almost like an orientation for them. Like,
Hmm.
okay, we've got our little laminated sheet with the with the ruler on the side and the various, circles and different things, shapes that are on that laminated sheet that we use. And I give them a little bit of an orientation of like, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is more to get the visual of it. And so we use a book called The Trail Guide to the Body. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's by a company called Books of Discovery, and it's a staple in the massage industry world because of the illustrations of the muscles. And it really shows a lot of visuals, and it really is really in depth on the muscle side of it. And it's almost been massage therapist bibles for years. I have one of the earliest editions still from when I went to school way back in '04.
Yeah,
Um and um so we utilize that book along with the anatomy and clay. So we use both resources when
yeah,
we're making that. um, and I say, okay, this is a great visual in the trail guide book of what the muscle looks like. Now let's use the anatomy clay one to translate that onto the skeleton. And it's more of like, it doesn't have to be exact. And that's
yeah.
where you have those perfectionist students that are like, it doesn't look the same. And I'm like, it's okay. But do you understand where the muscle attaches? Do you understand where the muscle, where it originates? Do you
Yeah,
understand where it inserts? And they're like, yeah, then you got the point of
yeah,
the exercise.
yeah,
You got the visual on where the muscle is. And they're like, oh, okay. So then it kind of takes some of that perfectionist, mentality out of it a little bit. And they love it because it helps that connection to the anatomy, and it gets me away from being just a talking head up at the front of the classroom.
Yeah.
And it gets them interacted, it gets them invested in it because they're having to make it and figure it out and visualize it. And so they're thinking about it and feeling the clay. So there's just, it really interacts and connects so much because you're doing so many, you're in your, what's the word that I'm looking for? You're really having them connect more senses, more than just visual. You're
So
getting
you're
that tactile sense,
immersed.
Yes, they get so much more immersed,
Yeah.
in it, and more invested because they have to make it, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." And then once they see all of the rotator cuff muscles put together and they're like, "Hey, I did that." And there's a sense of pride with that. And it really helps them to, I, I know I've said this a couple times now, but it really helps with their understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. I assume I probably am wrong by even making an assumption that many of the students coming into an academy like yours, they may not have been exposed to any anatomical instruction or human anatomy
So,
in the past, or
we have like a mixture of, some students are like straight out of high school. Like I've got a few
Mhm.
students that are straight out of high school. Others went and tried college and the traditional 4-year college, and it just wasn't the right route for them. And then I then have like another third of my students where this is like their second career. And
Mhm.
so they went to school, way back when, and now they had a career and they want something different. So I have a mixture of different types of adult learners, those that are like, that are just turned 18, and those that are, older in their 30s, 40s, where, this is now their second career. Um, so because of that, depending on the dynamic of what's currently in my class, I might have a slightly longer orientation, so to speak, for how to use, the skeletons and how to use the anatomy and clay system, and spend a little bit more time on terminology and that kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. What is the satisfaction for you, Betsy, as you go to work each day and think about helping people with issues with their bodies and do you think about that?
I do. My How I got into massage therapy is actually when I was in high school. I was a theater kid. I did a lot of theater. And I would notice that my classmates would get stressed out before performances. And okay, well, what can I do to help? I want to help. I've always been that person. How can I see a problem? I want to try to fix it. How do I do that? And I just naturally said, okay, well, all right, you sit here, I'll rub your shoulders. You take a deep breath. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try to, help calm you down before you go out on stage. And they were like, Betsy, you're really good at this. Maybe you should go to school for it. And I was like, well, instead of waiting tables while I'm trying to go to, acting auditions, maybe I'll try massage. And I was lucky enough to have a great career counselor at my high school that helped me find the school. I was able to get a full scholarship tuition for it. So it just, everything fell into place. And then, when I learned more and more about massage, of like how I can help somebody with chronic pain, and they've had this pain for years, and with a handful of massage sessions, they can go off their pain medications. Like,
Yeah.
that was mind blowing for me, that
Mm.
like how much of an impact that I could have on somebody's life. And I was like, that's amazing that, not only can I help somebody with their pain, but also just their stress levels. And when I learned about the body of, how much stress affects our body and how much stress really takes a toll to our immune system and all the various functions of our body, I was like, you know what? Massage really helps with that. And it can really calm down that nervous system and that fight or flight reaction that so many of us have in this busy world, that I was like, this is it, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
I still practice as a massage therapist outside of school. So I still do massage in a spa, in a med spa not too far from here. And so I still do massage. I
Yeah.
still do facials, and I still love seeing that reaction of my clients coming in, and I see like that there's a little line on their forehead because they're stressed. And that their shoulders are up here and they have no neck because of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And when they walk out, their shoulders are back down and they have a neck again. And they're like, oh man,
Yeah.
I needed that. And I'm like, yeah, you did. it,
Yeah.
it's it doesn't get old. It really doesn't get old. And so that is just super rewarding for me, that with these little hands, I can help somebody be pain free, or I can help them to relax, and the impact on their life, and what that gives them is pretty amazing.
That-
And I try
That's
not to
awesome.
have too big of a head about it, but um it's really rewarding, and uh, I I don't think I ever want to retire. Like it's not something that I never want to just completely stop doing massage because of that. And that's part of just who I am, that I always want to help. And it's amazing how massage therapy can help with
Yeah.
not only physical health but the mental health as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, even just listening to you now, I want to take 5 deep breaths and relax a little more because in this stressful world, we all need
Yes,
uh,
yes.
opportunities to relax. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for this great rundown, Betsy, and thank you for your insights today. Really appreciate it. Wish you all the best with Summit Salon Academy and all you do. And
Thank
maybe we
you.
can catch up again sometime. But
Would
best to
love
you, and
that.
thanks for your time.
Thank you. Would love that.